What's the most inaccurate thing your child has ever been taught in school? I picked up my daughter Zoe from school Tuesday afternoon, and when I leaned over to kiss her forehead like I always did, she jerked away. Don't, Dad! Ms. Novak taught us that when you get kissed, the person's DNA stays inside you for 7 years like you're infected. She said we're collecting other people's gross stuff and can't ever get it out. Her eyes welled up. Mom kissed me goodbye this morning. Does that mean I have her gross DNA stuck in me now? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I teach AP biology at the high school across town, and not only was this scientifically false, it was psychologically damaging. That evening, I sent Ms. Novak a polite email explaining that I was Zoe's father and a biology teacher, and that DNA from saliva breaks down within hours, not years. Her reply came quickly. Mr. Coleman, it was a simple lesson on DNA and germs. You know how kids can dramatize things. I wouldn't worry about it. I tried to brush it off, figuring maybe she'd just misspoken or Zoe had misunderstood. But then Wednesday morning, Zoe refused breakfast, and when I asked why, she pushed her bowl away and said, yesterday Ms. Novak was crying in class. She kept talking about this guy she used to date like 3 years ago. She said she can still feel his gross DNA inside her from when they kissed him, and she called him a walking contamination or something. I nearly choked on my coffee. She's discussing her ex-boyfriend with 12-year-olds? Zoe nodded miserably. She was actually crying, Dad. She said guys like Brad just want to infect girls with their DNA and then leave them. It was really weird. By Thursday, the parent group chat exploded. Multiple children had come home terrified of physical contact. One mother wrote that her daughter wouldn't hug her uncle anymore because Ms. Novak said men spread more DNA than women. Another parent said their son was dehydrated because he refused to use the water fountain after Ms. Novak said drinking from it was basically like kissing everyone who used it before you, collecting years of their DNA in your mouth. First thing Friday morning, I met with Principal Vasquez alongside 3 other concerned parents. We presented our concerns about Ms. Novak discussing her personal dating life and teaching false science. The principal reviewed her file and found 2 previous complaints from the past 18 months, both dismissed as misunderstandings. He promised to address the situation on Monday, but Monday made everything worse. Zoe came home in tears. Ms. Novak had a bad date over the weekend. She told us they shared dessert and she was happy to have his good DNA mixing with hers, but then he didn't text her back and she started crying. Zoe looked disturbed. She said now she has toxic DNA from a stranger inside her for 7 years and warned us never to date anyone. I immediately called Principal Vasquez again. Within hours, 5 other parents had called with similar reports. Their children were now terrified of all physical contact. One boy had scrubbed his hands raw after his grandfather helped him with homework. A girl had a panic attack when her friend tried to hold her hand during recess. The situation had become a crisis. Tuesday afternoon's emergency meeting was tense. Ms. Novak arrived looking perfectly composed, as if nothing was wrong. She sat down and calmly explained, I don't understand what the fuss is about. I'm teaching them scientific facts about DNA transfer. It stays in your system for 7 years. I was being honest with them about my own experiences, so they don't end up contaminated and hurt like me. She folded her hands. Would you rather I lie to them? I couldn't stay quiet. Ms. Novak, I teach biology. There's no peer-reviewed research supporting 7-year DNA retention. No medical textbook teaches this. What you're teaching isn't science. She blinked at me. But I read about it online. Multiple websites confirm the 7-year cellular memory. Principal Vasquez cut in. You're discussing your failed relationships with 12-year-olds and presenting blog posts as scientific curriculum. Ms. Novak straightened in her chair. I'm using real-life examples to make science relatable. It's actually very progressive teaching. By Wednesday morning, Ms. Novak was on administrative leave, and Mr. Rodriguez, who had a master's in public health, took over her class immediately. His first lesson was damage control. I need to tell you something important. Class, I need to correct some serious misinformation. DNA doesn't integrate into your cells through saliva or skin contact. Your body has natural barriers and immune responses that prevent this. What Ms. Novak described is biologically impossible. You are not infected or contaminated in any way. The relief in the classroom was palpable. One girl asked tearfully, but what about Brad? Ms. Novak said she could still feel him. Mr. Rodriguez chose his words carefully. Ms. Novak was confused. She was talking about her emotional feelings, not actual science. Sometimes when adults are hurt in relationships, they mix up their feelings with facts. The investigation revealed Ms. Novak had spiraled after her engagement ended 2 years earlier, finding conspiracy blogs about genetic bonding that she desperately believed explained why she couldn't move on. She'd been using her classroom to validate her own paranoia. The board terminated her teaching license that week. Last week, Zoe finally let me kiss her goodnight again. I feel bad for Ms. Novak, she said. She was just really lonely, wasn't she? I nodded. But at least now we know that cooties aren't real, even when grown-ups think they are.